The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acomb. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, Corning Mayor-elect Pam Walker. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Frank.
So many people are jealous of you. You had the easiest campaign.
That's what I've heard. Although I don't think I made it that easy on myself.
No, you were
really
busy. You were on this
effort.
program quite a few times, and you didn't even have to be, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And so congratulations. What did your election night look like?
It was just an exciting evening.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was, as everybody knows, it was somewhat inevitable, but still
Right.
It was fun to bring people together and celebrate, and it just felt great to have so much support from the community.
Oh, yeah. And you had support right out of the gate, really. You got a lot of support.
I was very pleased to see that. Yeah.
What was it like to take it all in? So the party's going on, and then the next morning, it's about the next morning. What did that feel like?
The next morning, I started drinking from the fire hose, I think.
Really?
Lots of calls, lots of emails,
Yeah.
but also still, congratulations coming in from friends and family far away. The women's fly fishing community really came out strong in support.
People don't think about that voting block that often.
Well, and it's mostly outside of Corning. They weren't voters, but definitely friends.
Oh, isn't that nice? Well, is there anything when you look back at it, because it was a different race that you were involved in, that surprised you?
I guess maybe not a surprise so much, but how much unanimity of opinion there was about some of the issues facing the city. People really had very similar views on what those were.
And isn't that interesting? Because when you talk about local races, people every once in a while, I'm sure, would stop you and talk national. It's just the nature of the game. But really, when it comes to local, there are things that everybody can kind of unify around.
Sure.
And isn't that nice? At a time when it doesn't seem like there's much unity, it's kind of nice to have the local issues bring us all together, like potholes.
That's right.
The one unifying thing.
Potholes and street trees and sidewalks.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones. So the big question is, what does day one look like when you're sworn in? You said you're already busy.
Yeah.
But day one.
Day one is going to be chilly. Being sworn in, the swearing in ceremony is going to be outdoors in Centerway this year, December 31st at noon.
Okay.
So we'll be dressing warm.
Yeah. Wow. Why outdoors? Is there a reason?
I think there's been space concerns in the city council chambers. Many people have wanted to attend, and there hasn't been room. So I think Bill Boland had a great idea of bringing it out and making it a community event.
It's going to look like the inauguration. You guys are going to all be bundled up. And see if you can use a balcony. One of the
Bill has told me he's hoping for snow to add a little bit of atmosphere.
Of course he is. But I know one of the things that we talked about during the election, and just in general, I'm sure it comes up a lot, the comprehensive plan. Where do we sit? I know this has been kind of a passion project of yours.
Yeah. We are 2 years in now at this point, which is hard to believe, but we do have a final draft, and it's available on the city's website for people to look at. It's under the strategies menu. And we are preparing to go forward and take it to the City Council for one final public hearing on December 1st, and then an adoption meeting, a special meeting on December 11th for that.
So because I'm sure you've attended the public hearings in the past, because this has been a very transparent project, which is always very nice.
Thank you for saying that. That's really been a goal for us.
What do you hear overall at the public hearings?
So we hear, in general, from people a lot of support for the policies that have been set out. I know people have expressed a lot of satisfaction with how comprehensive the plan is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
Hence
a
the name.
comprehensive plan. But I think sometimes there's a little bit of misunderstanding too. I think there's a lot of interest in getting things done very quickly and all at once. This is a 15 to 20 year time horizon.
Right.
Obviously, people have concerns about the expense of doing many of the things that are outlined in the plan. One of the things that the plan does is put together an implementation strategy, places that we can go for grant funding. A lot of the plan gets put together or gets implemented by private sector partners as well. It's not just the city's projects to do. But if I could say maybe one thing that everybody's kind of sat back and gone, wow, there's a proposed project to redesign Tioga Avenue to connect it with a potential Chemung County Corning bike path along the Chemung River. And people look at the artist's renderings of that and just go, wow, we could have that. That would be great.
Wouldn't that be great? And I think something that people should know, there's still approval processes along the way. Once you guys accept adoption, it doesn't mean that it's done.
That's right. Right. It sets a strategy for the city to follow. So all of the things that are outlined in the plan will end up coming back to the city council when it's time to implement.
Yeah. So the time frame could be pretty long.
It's, we're looking, again, 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
So,
Then you'll start it all over again. Will you still be there as mayor?
I don't think so.
So that's why I ask the tough questions here. What is the process here on out, though, realistically? Because you mentioned the first public hearing, and then, on the first, a public hearing of many, and then the 11th, the adoption. And you mentioned how many years, but what is, the next step in this process?
Yeah. Well, because the plan is fundamentally a land use plan and an expression of the city's goals for future development, one of the first things and the priority of implementation is to take a look at the city's development regulations and the zoning code and to update that. The plan sets out a lot of new ideas for how we look at the gateways to the city, how we might look at underutilized properties and vacant properties, and making sure that our development regulations allow us to achieve our goals for those places is important.
And that's kind of an overwhelming first step with the zoning and the codes, because that gets obviously in the weeds.
It's going to be very detailed, absolutely.
Now, as mayor, how much will your hand be in this whole process? Because you've been along for the committee really from the beginning.
Well, I think the code committee is a place where a lot of this will begin, and I hope to be a part of that as well. Again, I think it's going to be a very open and transparent public process.
Of course. Now, when you look at, as you're about to enter as mayor-elect right now, when you look at Bill Boland's time there as mayor, how do you use his, maybe for lack of a better word, template as you go into being mayor?
I'm leaning very heavily on it, to be quite honest. I think Bill has really done a fabulous job. I think, we need to credit him with getting this whole comp plan process rolling. And he's done a great job of bringing the city together, professionalizing the way we conduct city business. I really hope to carry that forward.
And he was so supportive of you really from the beginning.
Yes.
Isn't that wonderful?
He has made himself completely available for questions, concerns, training, and I will definitely be leaning on him as I take my first few steps there.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to miss it?
I think he's got plenty of hobbies, and sure we miss things a little bit, but he's got a lot to keep him occupied. Yeah.
So obviously we talked about what your day one looks like, and we talked about the comprehensive plan. But what are kind of simplistically your goals as you look at your first term?
So I think really it's a learning process. I think
that's why 2 years is almost overwhelming, because by the 2 years you could still be learning.
I have been told that getting through 1 year, you start to see what the process looks like, and then you settle in. And that as a 2-year mayor, that's when you start campaigning again or deciding if you want to go forward, right? But I think number one for me is going to be making appointments to boards and commissions.
Right.
We have a number of people who are retiring from their roles, and trying to find people to replace them is important. I would really like to see more citizens engaged in the process of government. It's our city, and we all have a voice in making it the way that we'd like it to be, and making sure the comp plan gets implemented as we want.
And isn't that the main struggle? I talk to many people, supervisors, mayors, and it is a struggle to get people active. It's almost until something they don't like has already been passed is when they're the most active.
Yeah. It's and frankly, that's probably the easiest way. It's much easier to say no and to block something than to come out and be positive and try to create something. But I hope more people will see that as an opportunity.
And with the comprehensive plan, you've been pretty lucky, because there was so much input, I should say, from the public
and
output too, but from the public.
Yeah. We've been really pleased. Our consultant has told us that we had a surprising to him number of people engaged in our workshops, but we really made a point of having a lot of them. We wanted them in as many neighborhoods as we could. We advertised them heavily. I walked around putting up posters about them in schools and churches and PTA.
And it's hard to get people's attention when it just says comprehensive plan. It's not the biggest glaring headline.
Yeah. But you know what? It's a plan where there's something that I think everybody's concerned about.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for, first of all, being on the program so many times during the election. I do appreciate that.
My pleasure.
And also for being on this morning. We'll have to keep this up as you become mayor.
I will look forward to it.
All right. Well, best of luck. Good luck on day one. All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.